For this face mask holder for the car, you'll need 100% cotton fabric, fusible fleece, HTV, 1-inch webbing, and hook and loop tape. All of your supplies are ready to go. Now it's time to prepare your SVG file for cutting. Download the Wash Me file from createtodonate.org and then upload it into your software, trace it, flip it, and get ready to cut. Place your heat transfer vinyl down on the cutting mat and make sure it has a good seal. Load the cutting mat on your machine and let it get to work. If you like to have a cup of tea while you're sewing, now's a good time to go grab one. Take a quick look at your HTV to make sure all the cuts are there and then start weeding. With this specific design, pay close attention to where you need to weed the smaller flourishes in certain letters to make sure you get the full effect in the word wash. Also, the pretty please lettering is smaller and a little more delicate, so don't rush when you complete that bottom portion. The heat transfer vinyl portion of the project is weeded and ready for application. It's therefore time to get the materials ready for sewing. So, take your cotton fabric and cut 4 pieces at 8 inches by 11 inches. The fusible fleece helps add structure to the bag. So, cut 2 pieces of the fusible fleece at 8 inches by 11 inches. Now that everything is cut to size, 2 of the cotton pieces need to be stabilized with the fusible fleece. Take 1 piece of cotton fabric and press it lightly, then place the rough and sticky side of the fusible fleece face down on the fabric. Remember to turn the fabric over so you're pressing the cotton fabric, not the fleece. Take the second piece of cotton and fusible fleece and repeat the process. Grab some sewing clips for this step because you're going to want to start constructing what will become the 2 panels of the bag. Layer the fabrics by taking 1 piece of fabric with fusible fleece and placing it on top of a plain piece of fabric. The fleece side should face up. While you're clipping each piece, make sure to double check that the measurements are still 11 by 8. Sometimes pressing certain fabrics will shift the measurements if you hadn't done a solid pressing before cutting. So, cut everything back to size to make sure that they are at 11 by 8 inches. Use a 1/4 inch seam allowance to sew both ends of each bag panel together. I decided not to show you the sewing machine at work and instead let you easily see the 2 completed seams. A finger press isn't effective for this project, so use your iron to press open the 2 seams on each panel. Then, turn the panel right sides out and press it again. Now we finally get to apply the HTV design to our fabric. Since we will be creating a bottom for this bag, we want to make sure the design is placed properly. So measure 2 inches from the bottom and put a clip as a visual reference. The design should not go below the clip. I like to give the plain fabric a little press to make sure it's as flat as possible before applying the transfer sheet. Take the HTV design and center it, then take your Teflon pressing sheet and place it over the design. If you don't have a pressing sheet, no worries, you can just use parchment paper. Press the design onto the fabric using the HTV manufacturer's instructions, peel the transfer paper from the design, and give the design one last ironing to make sure everything is secure. Bag construction is in full gear now. So grab some sewing clips and place the panels right sides together. In this case, that means the design is the right side for one panel, and the side with the fleece applied to it is the right side for the plain panel. Clip the two sides together and the bottom of the bag. I like to double check that I've clipped the correct end for the bottom of the bag since I don't want to break out the seam ripper. Use a 1/4 inch seam allowance to sew the two sides and the bottom of the bag together. Next, you're going to shape the bottom of the bag. To do this, measure then cut a 2 by 2 inch square for each bottom corner of the bag. Pull the bottom edge open to match the edges and clip. Then use a zigzag stitch to sew the edges together. The last part of this project is to add a strap. First things first though, let's turn the bag right sides out. You could even set it down and check out the fact that it stands up on its own. Then grab your webbing, a couple of clips, and a lighter. Measure an 18-inch piece of webbing. Then take your lighter and singe both ends so that they won't unravel. Take your bag and measure 2 inches from the outside seam. Clip the webbing at that 2-inch mark. Then get sewing. I don't like it when the webbing gets wiggly. Yeah, say that 10 times quickly. Anyway, I don't like it when the webbing starts to move as I'm trying to sew. Plus, I like to have a finished top edge. So what I do to capture the webbing is do a top stitch around the edge first. Then I do a full square around the webbing to make it more secure on the bag and strengthen the bond. Now you get to finish the bag. Cut a 2-inch length of hook and loop tape and clip one part of it 2 inches away from the other side of the bag. I like to sew the softer loop side to the bag. Then take the rougher hook side and clip it to the end of the webbing. Sew both pieces to secure them to the fabric and the webbing. I typically use a zigzag stitch to sew the hook and loop tape to the webbing and the fabric, but a straight line will do as well. Once you're finished sewing, test it out to make sure everything works, and you're good to go.